I will start by introducing myself. I am Amanda April, the CDKN Africa Country Program Manager, based within South North in South Africa. And we're glad to have you here today. Welcome. Today's session webinar is titled Kenya's Climate Resilience Journey, Lessons, Insights, and Opportunities for Change from a Climate Investments, Functionality, and Governance Study. So we're very glad to have you today. It's a full house. Before I hand over to Robbie Rader, who will be officially opening up today's session, let me just start with some housekeeping rules. The first one being that if you are not speaking, please make sure to keep your audio muted. I know it's January, we're all just trickling back into work, into the swing of things, but please remember to keep your audio on mute if you're not the one delivering a speech, or if you're not the one speaking. The second one is today's webinar will be conducted in English, so we don't have interpretation services available for today. So all proceedings will be conducted in English, and the recording will be made publicly available afterwards, as well as or any other resources that have been made available. There's a Q&A section that we have allocated time to after each of the speakers have presented. So please look out for that. If you have any burning questions mid-presentation or at any point in time during the webinar today before the Q&A, please use the chat box at the bottom of your screen and capture your contribution, comments, or question there so that you don't lose it, and we can come back to it during the Q&A slot. And the webinar today will be 90 minutes, so an hour and 30 minutes. Please, just a nudge to our speakers and everyone participating. If we can all just, as far as possible, stick to our allocated time so that we don't run too much over time, as interesting and as exciting today's discussion will be. That's it from my side. I will hand over to Robbie. Robbie Rader is an environmental management specialist with experience in environmental and social impact assessment, climate change adaptation and mitigation, climate finance, sustainable industrial development, and off-grid energy. Robbie is the director of South North and the Ethiopia and Kenya country head for the Climate and Development Knowledge Network, a global program implemented by South North. Robbie has previously worked for the UN Environment Programme, UN Economic Commission for Africa, and the World Bank in East Africa in various roles. And with that said, over to you, Robbie.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Welcome to you all. It's great to be here today. I'm very happy to be here to discuss the lessons and insights from our work, the work we undertook in Kenya in 2023 and 2024 in partnership with the Adaptation Consortium who are here, which focused on building climate resilience in Kenya's arid and semi-arid lands, the so-called the ASALs, through water investments. In this regard, we undertook a longitudinal study on the implementation, governance, and sustainability of these locally led climate change investments. We considered this to be a longitudinal study because we looked at this. We did this study and looked at these investments 10 years after the investments were made, and through the County Climate Change Fund, and 5 years after the last functionality study took place. And this gave us the opportunity to reflect on these investments and learn from them. My CDKN colleague, Esperanza Carajo, and our colleagues from the Adaptation Consortium, ADA, Pauline, Joab, Ivy, have been part of this long journey of devolved climate finance access in Kenya, and they will continue to be part of it. County governments in this arid and semi-arid land ASALs, which include Makweni, where Dr. Mutoka and Obadiah, who will speak later, are from, Isiolo, Garissa, Wajir, and Kitui, and the county-based civil society organization partners of ADA, namely Womankind Kenya, where Abdi Hassan from Garissa will speak later is from, Multi Integrated Development Program, MIDP, Anglican Development Services, Eastern Africa, and Arid Land Development Focus. Are part of, are the implementers of this program, and the story leads are, so we'll have them reflect on this lived experience and their journey. So we're committed to making this an interesting and engaging event. Even if my organization, South North, and the Climate and Development Knowledge Program, a program we implement in partnership with Foundation Futuro Latin America and ICLI in Southeast Asia. I've been active in Kenya since 2012. This engagement in the ASALs was a unique opportunity and a valuable experience. And it's based on clear recommendations from this work, study and engagement, and in response to follow-up requests from counties and national government that we're currently doing follow-up work, supporting the development of a monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and learning toolkit for national government in Kenya to support the tracking and reporting of climate-specific indicators, which are important for effective adaptation. We're doing this in partnership with the African Group of Negotiators Expert Support, AGNES, and the World Resource Institute. My colleague Esperanza will say a bit more about this follow-up work we do, but a key component of this initiative is the development of climate-specific indicators that align with national priorities and also global frameworks such as the Global Goal on Adaptation. These indicators will allow for disaggregated climate investments within the broader development efforts, support regular and participatory assessment, and facilitate learning and decision-making across all levels of governance in Kenya through this work, this longitudinal study, and the county climate change investment work we did. We've also had the opportunity to facilitate good peer-to-peer learning exchanges between two municipalities in Nepal, represented by a mayor and a city level official from Nepal, and the governor of Makweni County, who had the opportunity to exchange on locally led adaptation and public good water investments. So it was a unique opportunity in that sense. Finally, I would like to say that the CDKN is also active in a number of countries in Africa, including Ethiopia, Namibia, Ghana, and Senegal. Places that all countries were visited recently by iShow Speed. But we, as we move to the final year of these programs, we felt it was important to create a webinar series or a series of webinars as a space to share what we're learning across this work, what's working, what's not working, where do the tensions lie, how are different actors navigating complexity in practice, and so on and so forth. And we hope this event, which is one of the first ones of this webinar series, will be, you'll have the opportunity to engage in this one. And this is managed by the CDKN Africa program, and my colleagues Fatma, Stanley, and Lisa lead and coordinate our Africa program. So wish you all a great event, and thank you. And I hand over to you, Amanda, so you can pass it on to the next person. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Robbie, for that overview, clearly outlining not only the purpose for today, but setting the tone around what and the importance of peer learning, sharing ideas, especially at a subnational level. Thank you very much. I'll be handing over to Pauline, who will be also sharing opening remarks as well on behalf of the coordinator for ADA, Kennedy, who was not able to join us today. Pauline, who will bio quickly. Pauline is a specialist in climate change governance and adaptation finance. She has been working on Kenya's devolved climate finance framework, the CCCF, supporting subnational governments to enact and implement policy and legislation, building the capacity of communities on climate risk assessments, climate change adaptation and resilience project implementation and sustainability. Pauline works with the Adaptation Consortium as a project manager. So I will hand over to you, Pauline, to also provide an overview of ADA's contribution to this work as well. Thank you. And partnership with.
Thank you very much, Amanda. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you have heard, my name is Pauline Makutsa. I work with the Adaptation Consortium as a programs manager, and it's an honor for us as ADA to be present at this webinar to share the work that we have done with SSN. Just to mention that ADA Consortium works to support county governments. One of the things that we do is support county governments and communities in Kenya to access finance for climate change adaptation and resilience actions. As you may know, ADA designed and piloted the CCCF mechanism, which is Kenya's devolved climate finance framework in 5 counties and between 2013 and 2018. And within that period, over 100 climate change investments were made in the 5 counties. Robbie had already mentioned 2 of them. And around 2019, we did a functionality study to find out the projects, the investments that were made by the finances that reached the communities and the projects that were designed by communities, what was the sustainability level of these projects. And that is what we call the functionality study. It was only done on the water projects, a sampling of the water projects, about 62 of them. And later on, when we partnered with SSN around 2023, 2024, we did a second study, making it a longitudinal study to follow up and see how are these projects that are being led and managed by communities, how are they, what is their sustainability level? Are they still functioning as was intended, or what other factors have taken place to account for their sustainability or their non-sustainability or non-functionality? So it's an honor today to present this work with my colleagues, and we hope that this will be informative, that it will generate knowledge, it will contribute to the sustainable design and management of community-led climate adaptation and resilience investments. We all know that we need to make them for there to be resilience in our country and in other countries as well. So I want to wish you all a very informative and enjoyable webinar. Thank you very much. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you so much. Yes, and I will be handing over. I like what you said now about what I go through today's presentations, learning around how these communities have successfully managed, led, and designed these water projects. They're definitely experiences and insights for quite a few of us to take from those. So thank you for highlighting that. I'll hand over to Esperanza Carajo, who is going to be speaking about more in detail about this governance and governance study and the importance of it, some of the key findings, and policy insights that emerged from this study. Esperanza Carajo is a seasoned expert in climate change governance and environmental planning and management based in Nairobi, Kenya. With over 15 years of experience, she specializes in adaptation planning, decentralized climate finance, WASH governance, and environmental and social safeguards. Karaho has successfully secured funding, built multi-stakeholder partnerships, and driven resilient, inclusive outcomes, often emphasizing on local-led adaptation. She's currently the Climate and Development Knowledge Network Country Manager for Kenya. Esperanza, over to you.
Thank you, Amanda, and thank you, colleagues, for joining today's webinar. So I'm just going to highlight what the webinar is today. So we're going to disseminate the key findings, lessons, and policy recommendations from the study that has been mentioned by Robbie and Pauline. So this study, as you've heard, it assessed the long-term performance and specifically 10 years performance and sustainability of locally led water infrastructure in Kenya in 5 specific counties, that is Garissa, Isiolo, Wajir, Kitui, and Makueni. So, and basically to strengthen the climate finance mechanism and ultimately informing national scaling, which, as we can see through the FLOCA program, and also policy improvements and adaptive management for enhanced climate resilience. So we have 3 sessions today, and the first one is to highlight the study's importance, why we needed to do that. That has been highlighted by Pauline and Robbie, but we'll hear more from Joab. So the importance, the methodology, the findings, including the experience and some of the challenges and some of the lessons that we will need to take up in some of the implementation of projects that we lead, and also the recommendations thereof. The second part of today's webinar will be highlighting the practical journeys, and this will hear from 3 presentations. The first one on the locally led action journey from the Adaptation Consortium, being the pioneers of this work, and case studies from Garissa and Makueni. And that session will be hearing about policy influence and forward-looking action. And this will be shared on both national and county perspectives, shared by Dr. Mutoka from Makueni County, the Chief Officer, Makueni County. So basically, is to welcome you all and just to note that this webinar bridges research evidence, real county experiences, what we found on the ground, and just high-level policy dialogue to drive better for money projects. So welcome all, and thank you, and enjoy the webinar. Back to you, Amanda. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, SV. I will now hand over to our first presentation by a presentation of key findings and lessons from the report. Now we're going to be going deeper into not only the importance of the study, the methodology, as Esperanza has mentioned, challenges, technical, governance, environmental, community, and some of the impacts that have emerged from this work, but also some insights that emerged from the study. I will hand over to Joab Osumba. Joab, the engagement lead at the Adaptation Consortium, ADA, and a thematic lead for the policy working group of Kenya's Climate Smart Agriculture multi-stakeholder platform. He is also a member of the Agriculture Thematic Working Group at KIPRA, with extensive experience linking agricultural research, policy, and practice. Previously, Joab worked with Kyra at ILRA as a climate smart agriculture policy specialist, served as a technical advisor under UKAID's climate change program, and held various roles within Kenya State Department of Agriculture. He is widely published on agriculture, smart climate change, and environmental policy, and holds a BCS in agriculture, a postgraduate diploma in agricultural education, and a Master of Philosophy in Environmental Science, a certificate in Environmental Impact Assessment and Audit. With that, I would like to hand over to Joab, who will be taking us through the first presentation for today. A reminder to everyone, if you have questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. At any point in time, we will have a Q&A section after all the presentations have been delivered. Thank you. Over to you, Job.
Yeah, thank you very much, Amanda. You can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, loud and clear.
Yes, and welcome everyone. The title page for the presentation has been on the screen, and it has also been touched on by all the previous speakers, so I may not dwell on it. We are going to make this presentation, Joab Osumba from ADA and Esperanza from SSN CDKN. The outline of the presentation is number one, the importance of the study. We are going to touch on that. That has also been touched on. And then the key findings, accountable adaptation, the role of monitoring and learning, and then the applications today of all that learning that we have done. And then finally, what did we recommend when we did that study? The references we are using are the reports we made, and they are in the links at the bottom of that page. The study area is in that map of Kenya. The colored administrative units, there were 5 of them. They have been mentioned, 5 counties. You can go to the next slide. Yes, this pilot work was done in Kenya's ASAL areas, and 5 of the 23 counties in the ASAL areas, which is covering about 89% of Kenya's landmass. And it has been said quite a number of times, the common statement is to say over 100 investments, but there were specifically 114 investments done over around 8 years from 2011 to 2018. Now, out of those 114 investments, 95 of them were on water investments. And that is why this longitudinal study is focusing on water, because it was the major issue that communities picked to address. And these things were done by community leadership. We didn't influence anything. We just facilitated them to do resilience assessments. Out of the resilience assessments, they chose what they wanted to do. And then they were supported to do them. So 95 out of 114 of them were on water. That is around 83%. And now when we started doing the resilience functionality assessments, we chose 62 out of those 95. And for the first time, we did it in 2019. And in 2023, we went to the very 62, so that we called it longitudinal. And what we found, we were looking for issues of governance, issues of maintenance, and issues of sustainability. How is climate affecting the investments that were being done? And we found quite a number of interesting issues. And these issues have informed scaling. We have already scaled this methodology to the whole country, now 45 out of 47 counties. And what we got in the 5 pilot counties has informed that scaling. Now, it is also essential, the learning we are doing is essential for unlocking potential in the ASAL areas. The positive element, it is also essential for informing policies nationally, which we are already doing by engaging government agencies. Go to the next. Yes. So there are 3 very important words in the whole study. Number 1 is functionality, number 2 is longitudinal, and number 3 is sustainability. Basically, we are doing sustainability studies, but we are looking at the functionality of these assets that the communities engaged in as the indicator of that sustainability. And for us to find out whether they are sustainable, we have to make it longitudinal by going to the very, very assets which we studied long ago to find out whether they are still functioning. And if you look at that graph, Those are the 5 counties that the pilot was done in, and the studies were done in 2019 and 2023. And if you look at the first county, Garissa, all the assets that were assessed in 2019 and assessed in 2023 were still functioning. And then the assets, 60% of them were functioning in 2019, 60% of them were functioning in 2023. You go to Isiolo, in 2019, 66.7 were functioning. In 2023, it had dropped to 22. If you go to Kitui, 75% were functioning in 2019, it came to 58%. Go to Makueni, 84 were functioning in 2019, 69 were functioning in 2023. You go to Wajir, 69 were functioning in 2019, 26 were functioning in 2023. So if you look at it, there is a functionality element that is continuing, and some of them are dropping, some of them are rising, but generally there is an element of functionality in those assets that were invested in 10 years down the line after they were done. Go to the next slide. Now we are reaching a conclusion here. If you look at that graph, at the bottom of it, there is a bracket which is saying this block of assets are functional. Then the next bracket at the bottom there is saying this block of the assets are non-functional. Now, if you put together all the percentages for the functional graphs, it totals to 59.8%, which is roughly 60% of all the assets that the communities invested in are still functioning by 2023. And we started these investments in 2012, 2013. So roughly 10 years down the line, 60% of all those assets are still functioning. The 40% which are not functioning, we looked around and got some of the challenges that are making them not to be functioning as they should. Yeah, not that they are dead, they just need some attention. And some of those challenges were technical, some of them were about governance, some of them were community capacity building, and some of them were also environmental. Because if you look at the approach we are taking with the County Climate Change Fund mechanism, the CCCF, it is actually community-based. And so therefore, a lot of focus is put on the community without looking at how the general environment is affecting community assets. So the recommendation is going to take care of that. Go to the next. Next. Yes, so what were the impacts that we found? What were the impacts that we found? These assets improved livelihoods in the communities. A lot of that water, or the water points, were used for agriculture, small-scale gardening, livestock health, livestock watering, some employment also occurred. Better sanitation, because for each asset, for each water point, there was a sanitation facility put around it, because people were going to crowd there. Habitat restoration, all the water points had an environmental component in it, which helped in habitat restoration and soil conservation. There was also reduced burden on women and girls, because the water was made available to them very close to their habitats, or to their residences, or to their settlements. A lot of those communities were also, inspired to self-mobilize and also do small-scale kind of water point rehabilitation, like hand-dug wells and all that. And then the other point that we found is that the non-functional investments are perpetuating vulnerabilities, and they are hindering progress in drylands, and therefore the recommendation is going to take care of what needs to be done. Next. Yes, the reference that I made at the beginning is also at the top there, and that is what I wanted to present in brief. If questions come, we shall respond. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Job. I hope we get a question around just unpacking a bit more, asking for a bit of information around some of the factors, environmental factors that actually contributed to some of these investments not being functional, because it really speaks to how you can and have systems in place to make sure that as much as possible an investment is sustainable or a project is sustainable, but there are factors that are beyond your control at community or institutional level that can impact the sustainability of a project. So I hope we get a question around that. Thank you so much, Job. I will hand over to Esperanza. I think Esperanza also has a presentation as well, unpacking some aspects of the study in more detail. You are on mute.
Sorry, yes. Thank you so much, Job, for that highlight and giving us the background, the importance, and the key findings of this report. So having done the study, so what else? So we developed a number of knowledge products, and these were one technical brief, the key overall report that we synthesized, and also you can find it in the same links. Then we also had the policy brief, which is basically a brief overview of what you'll find in the reports. And we also did develop a number of technical briefs and videos, and these are very specific to the counties that we shared from. That is the 5 pilot counties. And then we did develop like an overarching video, and they are very short. They are like 7 minutes. So for those of us who find ourselves in the spaces where we have to negotiate, we need some bit of evidence of what locally led adaptation looks like and what measurable outcomes and impacts look like. These are great resources to be able to refer to. And then I'll also be talking about the type of work that CDKN decided to support based on this report. So if you can move on to slide number 2, please. Slide number 3. Yeah, so those are the key knowledge products. I just screenshot, so when you search, you would know what they look like, and all from the synthesis report to the policy brief, the 5 technical, and the videos. If you can move on to the next slide, please. So as I mentioned, all those that have been presented from Joab, all that information in detail from his presentation and from these highlights there in the synthesis report, you'll find some of the key enablers of the sustainable projects, from community involvement to ecosystem-based integration and partnerships, the type of partnerships to the community level to the local county level or to the national level to ensure that that partnership fosters the sustainability of the projects and especially in capturing their insights and views in the design stage. The main barriers to sustainability, I'll not belabor on this because they've already been highlighted. But one thing that was very repetitive is that yes, being the airsoils, the climate variability, drought, erratic rainfall, this is consistent. And so when we are putting up these investments, we have to think about these periods, especially the drought, so that it's just not an investment that is functional during the good seasons, but it should actually be functional and effective even during the dry season when it is most needed. there are core recommendations in this report, and they are also highlighted in the policy brief for those who just want to have a quick look of what the study was about, and also the relevance of this work in the region and globally, especially on noting that most countries have already mainstreamed adaptation into planning and development. But what does that actually mean? Is this work anchored in law? And is it scalable? Are they actually efficient in ensuring that sustainability, operations, and maintenance is met? And how sustainable these projects can be from the operational funds. Then there's also, of course, the need for sustained finance. Sorry. What was highlighted, and you'll see from the next presentation, is that operation and maintenance was one key thing. Yeah, so the need for sustained finance. One thing we realize is that we do have finances in our funds for new investments, but what was missing was actually the operations and maintenance funds. And for us to maintain, then we have to think about also monitoring and of these projects, evaluation, what the periodic reports that are going to inform the next investments, and also for the adaptive management. Then, of course, another thing that came out, and which is also very relevant in designing, is the deliberate design against the technical, institutional, and climatic barriers, and ensuring that capacity is strengthened over time around these key areas, because that really determines the functionality and the effectiveness of these investments. Next slide, please. So yeah, the next product we had is the policy brief, and I don't need to go through it because most of that information is already highlighted. And these are specifically for the policymakers and government officials, those of us working in climate finance, and researchers and academics, especially working on adaptation, devolution, and water governance. Also important for community leaders and CSOs to know what to advocate for. As has been noted rightly, that there is a gap on operations and maintenance, that we really need to advocate for that budgeting, and also for other international audiences, especially the delegates and negotiators on adaptation finance, experts seeking real-world lessons. Next slide, please. I want to delve into the specific technical briefs and videos. So if you can see my screen, one of the things that is mutual, or rather consistent in all the five, is O&M, M&D. That is for Wajir, G for Garissa, again, O&M, M&D, and then they were actually calling for strengthened community management. The Isiolo, the same, long-term success hinges on correct siting, so climate information and indigenous knowledge is key in ensuring that we get the right locations for these investments. Climate proofing these investments, because some of the functionality were really because of the wear and tear. The sun gets very hot, and some of the materials that are used would be better off if they can be able to withstand the climate of these regions. The O&M and M&E is repeated. Kitui, again, O&M allocation, they called for reforms for O&M allocation, and also enhanced monitoring. And Makueni, which actually had a very good and positive example of what successes looks like, especially on the impacts. They still underscored the need to institutionalize M&E to support its operations and maintenance mechanisms. So based on that, next slide, please. CDKN Kenya decided to take forward the work of M&E, monitoring and evaluation. And with this, we are partnering with the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, and 2 counties, that is Vihiga and Makueni. And even though Vihiga is not in the pilots, is not one of the pilot counties, we thought it would be a great county to have, just because of comparison of different regions, so that we are not only having the ASAL counties, also the partnering the another key stakeholders, Council of Governors, but also partnering with the WRI, World Resources Institute, and Arin and Agnes. So we are co-developing monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and learning tool. We call it the MAL tool, and it's basically a custom digital platform, and it is meant to track, measure, and learn from climate investments. So the custodian currently, as we work around it, is the Department of Environment and Climate Change. And the purpose of this tool is to close that critical gap. We realized there's yes, M&D was an issue around identified from all the 5 counties, but we also realized the learning part, especially as a feedback mechanism between on how like feedback is provided by the community and how soon the counties are able to act on it. We decided to include also that feedback mechanism in the tool to ensure that over time, then they are able and have some adaptive changes and ensure that these investments keep being functional over time. And the whole purpose for all the 4 components of the evaluation, reporting, and learning is to ensure that we are able to disaggregate and track climate finance, both administrative finance and also project finance, but also specifically the outcomes and the impacts and around just the effectiveness of these investments over time. So in terms of data collection, it's periodic, and this is led by the monitoring and evaluation, or rather economists in the counties. And the features, as highlighted by Robbie, we are looking at harmonized indicators. This part of work is led by WRI. They are developing an indicators handbook, which these indicators become the main parameters of the program, of the platform, of the tool. And it does have multi-level and participatory access. So new county that is ready to actually start monitoring its investments is able to just log in and add its county, and based on those sector-based indicators and project indicators, they're able to start running their reports. They can be able to see their dashboards and such and forth. So it's integrated with existing systems, so it's not like another painstakingly new form of work, but rather it's integrated with the existing systems at the county levels. And it offers real-time tracking, reporting, and learning. It's user-friendly. At this point, we are already developing a guideline. We have already shared with the counties and other users at the ministry level to assess and review the user friendliness of this tool, but also whether it's effective in achieving what they'd like to see from the tool. We did already have a first review session, and we'll be having another in-person review session mid-February. So I really do hope that we can get more input into the process. And after that, we'll be having a training that's after the testing that incorporates more counties, just for them to learn how to onboard. So that's about it from my side, and thank you again.
Thank you. Yes, so with that, thank you so much, Job and Esperanza. I'm going to hand over to Pauline, who will be taking us through the devolved climate finance journey in Kenya.
Okay, thank you very much, Amanda. Actually, I will only take like 2 minutes. I just want to reiterate the County Climate Change Fund mechanism, which has been the main part of our, as a country, our, what do you call it, journey in terms of resilience and locally led adaptation. So please go to the first slide. It is based on the assumption that not everyone on this call might understand what the CCCF is. So this is just an opportunity to refresh our minds about the CCCF in Kenya and linking it also to the this study that has been done. Please go to the second slide. Sorry, so the County Climate Change Fund mechanism is Kenya's devolved climate financing and institutional framework. It is established via the sub-national county legislation, which are the County Climate Change Acts. As we speak today, all 47 counties in Kenya have climate change acts. And by this legislation, they have established the CCCF. And the financing for the scale out from the 5 pilot wards that we spoke about earlier in this call has been done through the FLOCA project. I am sure that a good number of participants in this call are familiar with the FLOCA project more than they are familiar with the CCCF. So the CCCF is the framework upon which the FLOCA project is able to finance locally led projects and adaptation. So the framework constitutes 4 components, just to again just mention. So the first is the fund. It is a public fund. It is owned by the county government, and resources can be put into the fund from anywhere. Currently, we have county resources, the percentage that they commit, each county commits to a percent, between 1% and 3%. Then we can have national project financing, like the FLOCA is a national project financing. But the design of the fund is such that it can also receive funding from private sector and any other international financing and others. So it is aimed at bringing resources closer to the community for decision-making for building resilience and adaptation. Then we have the climate planning committees. This is how this project is implemented. A good number of you are familiar with the committees. There's a community committee called the World Climate Change Committee. And the county level, there are 2 committees. One is a technical committee made up of county government officers from different departments. And there's an oversight committee, most of the time led by senior government officers, like the governor or the CCMs. Then there's a component for climate information services and participatory resilience planning tools. This is climate information is necessary because we are dealing with the adaptation, climate issues, and therefore we need climate information for people to make good decisions in time. And the participatory resilience planning tools are the tools that counties are using for communities to design and to prioritize the climate projects that will be funded through this fund. And then there's a monitoring and evaluation. And as you can see from Esperanza's just concluded presentation, this is the process by which counties will track and see how is this financing, how is it reducing vulnerabilities to climate risks. The goal of the CCF is to finance climate change adaptation, mitigation, resilience for communities. It is to mainstream climate change into development planning and to strengthen locally led adaptation through inclusivity and accountability. Next slide, please. Again, I will not repeat about the project. You have heard a lot of this. The scale out of CCF has been to the 47 counties, primarily through the National Treasury World Bank Financing Local Led Climate Action, which is FLOCA. And we were hoping that this functionality study would contribute to the design in the scale out, in the projects that are being implemented through the financing coming from the FLOCA. If these lessons can be learned currently and going forward, and we hope this can happen. I hope we have some members in the audience from the county departments tell us, because this study was done in 2023, 24, and it has been out there. I think it was shared a little earlier locally, but we would like to see how, hopefully in future, whether these lessons learned have been implemented in the new projects that are coming back up, or that going forward, that these lessons that we have learned here will be used. Next slide, please. As a country, we have realized that our greatest climate risks and hazards have to do with water. We either are shifting from a drought, like currently we have a very severe drought that is taking place. And just recently, not less than 16 or 15 months ago, we were suffering from floods, very severe floods, especially in the very same counties or places where the drought is taking place. So these lessons learned from this study, the focus on water investments and projects is quite significant, because the lessons will be very critical and very close to what people are learning. So the lessons learned in this longitudinal study are critical to inform the management of many additional water investments being done in Kenya. We agree that there are other types of investments being done under the FLOCA, in agriculture, in I think energy conservation, and others like maybe transport. But some of the lessons are critical, as I don't want to belittle. I mean, I belabor the point that Esperanza and the other presenter made. But the journey that where we have reached as a country, we are in a good place. We have a framework, a legal framework. We have institutions. Every country has institutions. We have civil society and communities having a role to play in the determining of the adaptation and resilience projects. A lot of these are locally led. A lot of these are nature-based. And therefore, our journey in Kenya in terms of adaptation and resilience is not so bad, but we have lessons. We have lessons that we are learning, we can improve. And I would call upon the new counties, or the counties that are now beginning their journey in terms of using the CCCF financing, using FLOCA financing, those who have also been able to access private financing, to increase, to learn from these lessons and to build better resilience in the communities by avoiding the pitfalls that we've seen in this. So I will let the members from the community tell us the actual experience from the ground. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Puli. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think Kenya's experience is unique and it's rich, especially with regards to how NLA has been embedded in national legislation, which has been decentralized into subnational and county legislation as well. And this CCC framework has really been quite a unique experience that, you know, some of these insights will definitely be relevant outside of Kenya as well. I see your hand. We do have a Q&A section after all the presentations. So if you don't mind, please drop your question or comment in the chat, and we will be looking at those and resolving them, talking through them in the Q&A section after the presentation. And if I could ask our speakers to, because we have quite a bit of questions, if you can start responding to some questions when you can, please do. We will then be hearing from two case studies, Garissa and Makueni, who will be sharing their personal localized experiences with regards to some of these insights and in these water investments. Abdi has...
Yes. Can you hear me, Amanda?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I am Abdi from Garissa County, representing Women in Kenya. And I'm the vocal point for FLOCA CSO representative in Garissa. Yes. So I want to say case study concerning about this project. I think Womankind, the CSO representing a local CSO in Garissa, I think we have started a pilot program back 2016. Let me dwell much on what previous presenters said. I think we have started pilot in 3 wards in Garissa County on this functionality study, that is Sankuri, Naniki, and Gorayale. And those 3 wards are representing the 30 wards of Garissa, so that we can provide learning and evidence on the issues of the climate resilient project. So the pilot project aimed to support community-led climate resilient initiatives, and it has strengthened local decision-making on climate investment within Garissa County, and it has promoted sustainability and the climate resilient development, and it has addressed much on the water scarcity. I think the challenge that we're facing in Garissa and entire semi-arid is the water issue, and the study was concerning about the water. And Wakike has invested on the water on the ward that I have mentioned, and the project introduced innovatives on climate resilient water resolution by using community identified priorities. We are giving the opportunity to the community to give their priorities so that they can identify the priority investing on the climate infrastructure and improving water access for the household. And it has reduced conflict caused by the water scarcity within the community setups in Garissa. Those are the major achievement that when we're doing the pilot. And one major achievement that we have seen in the pilot project, Wakike has advocated for the policy, the County Climate Change Fund, the CCF, for Garissa, with the support of the Adaptation Consortium and other CSOs within Garissa. That was back 2018, which was passed, and it was an act. And that act has provided 2% of the annual development budget for Garissa County should allocate for the climate resilient. And now when we have the FLOCA projects that is supported by the World Bank, and the World Bank gives grants to the county government in the Department of the Climate Change, where the essence of this was a community-driven initiative supporting the locally led climate action project. And the success, Garissa received the financial year 2025, it has received almost 251 million allocated from the FLOCA project, where Garissa has carried 3 investments. This was the water investment, environmental restoration, and the irrigation-based investment. And the investment, we had a success because the achievement that we made was about the investment has supported community, and now the water scarcity, it has reduced within the wards within Garissa County where the project was implemented. The key success in these projects, or the pilot project, was the passage of the implementation of CCF Act was the key success that we have achieved as an organization, or the CSO within Garissa County with the support of the county government and our partner ADA. Another key success, we have increased community participation in climate decision making. We have given opportunity the community because the county climate change has a governance structure at the ward level where we have created the World Climate Change Committee at every ward. Those are the key stakeholders. So they are the one to decide where to implement the project and priorities where a community needs. And it has increased the significant critical budget allocation for the climate resilient. The fund has allocated budget for the climate resilient, and it has strongly collaboration between CSS, communities, and the county government of Garissa. There are some challenges that we have seen at the course of the program. The persist water scarcity, because our area we have the severe droughts currently in Garissa and even the semi-arid or northern Kenya, and the community have the limited capacity on the level of stages. There's coordination between the county government and CSOs It is there. It is something facing us. We have some lesson learned on the project. Community-driven approaches enhance ownership and sustainability. The lesson that we have learned in this project was community, or the success story that I can attest as the vocal point for Garissa is the community-driven approaches has enhanced ownership and sustainability. It's very significant. The CSO's strong advocacy can influence policy and the budget decision-making. The climate finance must be predictable and locally accessible in partnership with the development partners and improve the project quality. The water investment are critical in the entry point of the climate resilience within the ASAL counties. And the project has introduced several best practices, including local-led financing through the CCF, participatory investment planning, integration of the water, environmental, and livelihood, use of evidence-based functionality studies, and linkage pilot innovation to the county and the national financing system, where you have the FLOCA project that has aimed. I'm slide on lesson learned. Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Okay.
Yes, lesson learned. Yes, policy. No, proceed. Partner. Investment. No, proceed. A key success. I'm this one. Proceed again. The challenges. These are the key lessons. Community-driven. CSOs advocacy influence policy budgets, water, and strong entire point climate. Yes, proceed. Yes, good practice. Locally led climate financing through the CCF, I think I've already mentioned. I will not elaborate much. Participatory planning and decision making, it was very necessary. Linkage pilot initiative through the county and national financing. You can proceed. Yes, these are recommendations. Scale up of the water investment. And this is with support of the county government and even the national government or other development partners. Build sustainable community technical capacity. It's necessary to build the community technical capacity so that we can enhance community. We can create awareness so they can understand about the climate resilience. Increase climate budgets allocation beyond. Currently, we have the annual budget for Garissa counts 2%. So we are lobbying and advocating so the budget to be increased for the climate resilient. Strength and monitoring evaluation. You can proceed. These are the way forward. Scale up other lessons. I think we are partnering with other. There are lessons that we have learned in the program. So that lesson learned, we are taking to the new program or the FLOCA program where we are representing the CSOs. We are giving information. Expanding innovative and sustainable water resolution. I think we are partnering with the other water department of the county so that we can reduce the issues of the water within Garissa and entire the northern region. Strength CCF, implementation and mechanism, institution size, community-led climate planning. Yes, yes, that is the end. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you. Any question, you can ask me. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you so much, Abdi. Such rich insights from the Garissa case study. And what's a recurring theme that I'm seeing from across the presentations, amongst other themes, is the importance of institutionalizing the work that it's been done, institutionalizing community-led climate planning from national right down to county level in different ways. So thank you for that. We have 15 minutes left for our less than 15 minutes, and we still have 2 more presentations before the interactive Q&A, and I really want us to actually open up the floor for 1 or 2 questions, live questions as well. So I'm going to hand over to Obadiah Kinguti from Makueni County, who will be taking us through the Makueni experience, the Makueni County experience. If you can take maybe 3 minutes for your presentation, that would really be great. Apologies, I know that we started a bit late, but yeah, over to you. And maybe just to quickly introduce Obadiah. Obadiah Kinguti is the Ward Climate Change Planning Committee Chairperson at Kimakui Ward, Kilome Constituency, Makueni County, and a County Climate Change Planning Committee member in the Makueni County. He's an agriculturist by profession with considerable experience in environmental conservation, water development issues, agroforestry, and other engagements in several sectors related to climate change, like the Makueni Agroforestry Carbon Project. He has been the chairperson of the Ward Climate Change Planning Committee since the inception of the committee in Makueni County, and has been involved in the development of participatory vulnerability capacity assessments in the ward. With that, I'm going to hand over to you, Obadiah, to take us through your presentation. 3 minutes, please, if you can.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, can I go to the first slide? I think my biography has already been read through. Yes, I'll start by giving the background for the projects I'm going to talk about. Kimakio Kalanzon Ward is one of the projects where piloting was carried out between 2014 up to 2017. And I'll be talking of two projects which were implemented between 2016 and 2017. The first one is Kaseve Water Project, which is a water distribution project and has 3 pipelines with a total of 17 kilometers. The benefiting communities are in the region of 2,500 people, and the number continues to swell because the project is located in an area with new settlements. The project also benefits over 2,400 cattle and 7,000 shots. The other one is Kwatumia Water Project, is a dam project which was constructed to benefit 1,500 people and 2,400 cattle and 9,000 shots. The project is located in an area which was disadvantaged, and there were very few settlements because of water problem. But now, since the inception of the project, the number of residents have soared up. I was involved in the development of the participatory vulnerability capacity assessment before the identifications of the projects to be funded in the ward, and as the chairperson of the Ward Climate Change Planning Committee since the project's inception. During the PVCA, we prioritize projects according to the community needs. Then we use the community to rank the project according to the community needs. That's how the two projects were selected. The water distribution project is from a board which is located somewhere within the area and has some good water potential, while the construction of the dam is in an area called Kalanzon within the ward. The community was mobilized. Among the partners who are involved in the implementation of projects is the county government of Makueni and the Anglican Development Services Eastern. We had also to seek some guidance from the Kenya Meteorological Department that provided climate information services in the implementation systems. The projects were successfully carried out out of a big number of residents benefited. Some of the benefits the projects, the community has received from the projects include the community initially relied on some streams within the locality, and they were spending too much time in search of water. And since the inception of the projects, the community has had to walk to short distances. Initially, they used to walk for over 5 kilometers, but now they are saving a lot of time to do other things. And there has been improved access for water for livestock and human beings. There has also been reduced waterborne diseases since community is using tapped water, and and the sanitation has improved a lot. There is also improved food security, since some of now the community is using the water for food production. Some of the challenges that we are encountering include maintaining the projects, maintaining and operationalizing the projects because of the low costs and the little revenue that we are getting. And also there is some governance problem because of some of the PMCs are not properly trained, and there is no proper bookkeeping. And we need to expand the projects, and with the little resources that are coming around, we have been unable to get to the outlying areas. So, and there are also constraints from the county government because we cannot get more funds to do some expansion. And some of the innovative solutions and technologies we are using is like things like include fruit production, and also things through either drip irrigation, because that will use little water, and also establish income generating activities which don't rely on rains, like beekeeping. We use also sites which require little water to flourish, and they can use it for either weaving or some other. I also call for aggressive participation by the community to lobby for funding from the county government to ensure that we also get money for maintaining the projects. Also, we request the county government or the community to lobby to have the 2% budget, which is allocated climate change, to be increased to 3 instead of 2. And also call upon the county government to put the policies in place to amend for the budget to be changed, and also for money for operation and maintenance, and also for monitoring and evaluation. But I think that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, we'll definitely be making more presentations available. Thank you very much. And then we are left with 2 minutes. In retrospect, the richness of these insights warranted a 2-hour discussion instead of an hour and a half. Dr. Mutoka, will you be able to share some insights?
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you very much, members. I will use my 2 minutes to pass the information that I was supposed to pass in 10 minutes, but I'll use my time wisely. I'm Mutoka Geoffrey from Makueni County Government, serving as the Chief Officer in charge of Environment, Natural Resources, Mining, and Climate Change. And as given the next slide, let me say this: Makueni has benefited a lot from this particular project. It's good. I appreciate the other consortium and also SSN, and also all the other partners, because indeed we have even benefited even from the peer-to-peer learning with the Nepalese government, which was also stated. So we also form part of the 5 counties that were in the pilot stage, and out of the longitudinal study, we had several of our projects which were done in the last, or as at that time, about 11 years ago, which were studied. So Makueni role, we have 13 water projects which were assessed, which were ranging from sand dam, earth dam, rock catchments, and out of them we had functionality of about 75%. So, and one of the main outcomes that came out of this was the formation of the climate change fund, and that is what really grew into even being implemented nationally as FLOCA. And the next slide, please. So Some of the challenges that we have been having, one is the recurrent drought. Makueni is largely semi-arid, and we have even parts of Makueni which are arid. So we have been having recurrent droughts, which have really strained our water infrastructure. We have also been having erratic rainfalls, which sometimes you find maybe we have a lot of rainfalls within a very short period of time, leading to flash floods and silting most of our water resources. So this form part of the reason is why some of the resources or some of the investments were not that functional as at that time of the study. But I must say 75% of our projects being functional is a huge percentage, especially for those of us who understand what it means to have a government project or a project that is not owned by a private person being functional about 11 years down the line. Next slide, please. So Makueni water strategy, we build our water strategy on 3 pillars. The first one is participatory climate risk assessment. We need first to identify with the climate risk in the given community and what they would want the government or even the partners to do for them. Then we do that in a community-led way and management, whereby we involve the community and are able to decide exactly what they need and what should be done for them and exactly where. And then for sustainability, we involve the community in running the projects immediately after completion and even during implementation so that we can create ownership. Next slide, please. So one of the most successful kind of investments which we got out of these particular investments was the sand dams. These sand dams are normally very easy structures which are cost effective to construct because they don't need a lot of structural expertise for them to be constructed. But they are one of the most successful ways in which we are being able to supply water in our area. I must say the largest town in Makueni is Wote, and over 70% of the water that is used in Wote is from sand dams. We have sand dams next to Wote in a river known as Kaich River, where sometimes we are able to pump. Even during the dry season, when no water is flowing on the surface, we're able to pump even to the tune of 70 cubic meters of water per hour from these sand dams. So it's one of the most cost-effective and is one of the kind of projects which you can implement using the community itself, the local materials, and then the people can even implement the projects. And even it improves the water quality because getting water through the sand dams that is flown already through sand, you find the filtration has been done. The only thing that we need maybe is some bit of clarification for the dam side. Next slide, please. Then the other issue is we have also been able to leverage out of this kind of investments. We have also been able to leverage largely on solar power, use of solar power in our water projects, because as I've said, Makueni is largely arid and we get at least 8 hours of intense sunlight every day. And out of this, we have been able to run most of our water sources using solar power, which has reduced the emission of greenhouse gases and has also been really cost effective because we are not expecting a bill at the end of the month. So the communities are able to run these projects easily without using any grid. Thank you. Next slide. So under the local leadership, we have also ensured that the community, through the climate change planning committees and the project management committees, they are able to govern and they are able to run their projects. And then they are also able to use the water resources that were invested in so that they can be able to build their own capacity, generate their own even income, and also feed their community. Next slide. So this has also led to increment in partnerships. We have been able to introduce, or many partners have been able to copy and come in so that they can invest in similar projects. And then most of the partners are no longer coming with already predetermined projects. They are coming, engaging the community so that they can be able to know where exactly to invest and what will be the reason as to why the community finds that as a priority for them. Next slide, please. So thank you. As I've just mentioned, we have had these projects or these investments greatly affecting our community in terms of food security, income generation, and also having the health benefits which come with the climate smart agriculture, which is part of what investments was focusing on. Next slide. And then I would give 5 proven principles for scaling water infrastructure successes. The first one is to foster community ownership. If the government maybe just comes in and invests in a number of projects, then you realize most of the cases these projects end up being vandalized because sometimes people do not have the community ownership. But the moment now the community is able to decide on what they want to be invested in, then and that investment is done with the involvement of the community, then now we have more sustainable projects. Then the other issue is the use of climate data. Now, when data is available, and then based on data we have these investments, then now this leads to projects being done at the right place, because maybe if it's a water project, it will target a given number of people, and the given number of people is informed by data. We don't need to make a huge investment in an area that is sparsely populated and the resource lies there idly. Then secure sustainable funding. By doing that, and by the kind of approach that we are making these investments, we are being able to get grants, we are being able to get other people interested in funding similar projects, and that has really improved our water infrastructure. And then promoting inclusivity in our projects, we make sure that we engage the elderly with the women, the youth, so that they can take up leadership roles, and then we get project ownership. Then lastly, we have the robust operations. We establish a clear accountability, rapid response system, so that in case one of the project is not functioning, then the county can easily slide in and ensure that the project is functioning. The last slide, kindly. Yes, some of the challenges, I must say we have some technical challenges. Sometimes you realize some of the equipments that we are using, for us to get the spare parts, we need to take some time, because we have maybe the normal procurement processes. We have also the normal, some of the spares not even locally available. And much as the community is running the project, the community has the money because they have their accounts where they are running the projects, but they may not easily access the spare parts. Then about governance, we have resource gaps and enforcement issues. There are sometimes in cases whereby you go to a certain community and you realize the same community that was working harmoniously very well and supporting the project currently is no longer working in such a way. Then we must also maybe mention this. Sometimes in Makueni, we have extreme weather conditions, especially, I must say, the drought. We may have very prolonged drought in some of the areas within Makueni side, that the water resources we are depending on dry up, and also floods is also another challenge, because at times you find we have floods and they interfere with the water infrastructure. Next. Thank you. So I would say in conclusion that we have been able to find that for sure, based on data, the best approach of involving or investing in water resources within the counties is by having the people have the final say on what they want to be done, because this promotes ownership and makes the community now even to continue to protect their own investments. And also this ensures that it meets the community needs, because a number of times we might invest in a particular place because structurally that place maybe looks to be the most ideal, maybe for a dam, for example, but you realize that dam is not of very great help to the people because of the location. Then whatever we have been doing in Makueni is scalable. Makueni approach is locally appropriate, financially sustainable, and climate resilient. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Geoffrey. Very, very rich experience from Makueni. We've unfortunately run out of time. We are 10 minutes, over time. This has really been rich and great. And one thing that stood out for me, I won't try and summarize all the different presentations because of time. But what you've just said now, Geoffrey, the importance of integrating climate data in your planning. And secondly, the second point that stood out for me from your presentation is incorporating inclusivity. That engagement at community level is not just a tick box exercise, but you are very intentional in Makueni and I think across the different counties to make sure that the right people are in those climate change community committees. So thank you so much for all the rich presentations and insights. Apologies that we didn't have time for a live Q&A, but I did see that some of the questions, a lot of the questions have been responded to. I will hand over to SSN Director Robbie Reda to wrap us up and to close us off. Thank you so much. Thanks. Over to you, Robbie.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everyone. It was a rich. I mean, it's great to see the reflections of the different partners that have been part of this project, the team from SSN, from the Adaptation Consortium, and also in attendance were partners that we work with on the monitoring, evaluation, reporting, and learning tools, representing WRI, Agnes as well. So it's great to see everyone. This is, as mentioned initially, this is part of the learning or reflection that we want to have as the Climate and Development Knowledge Network, and the Africa program is going to have a series of this. There are a few things to learn from this, of course, maybe have longer sessions and give sufficient time to have a Q&A, like Amanda said. But by and large, I think it was great. I'm quite appreciative of the presentations of partners that have implemented projects on the ground. We will avail the recordings and other outputs from this and we're available to share we'll share other things. If there is anything in specific, so thank you very much. If there is anything in specific that I've missed, maybe I give an opportunity to Esperanza, specific to the outputs. Otherwise, thank you very much. And we'll be happy to get your feedback on this, as it will help us improve.